Pedro from ANP Reacts. I'm here today with none other than Floor Jansen from Nightwish. How's it going?
Good. How are you? Nice to
I'm
meet you.
good. I'm good.
I like
Nice.
your shirt.
Yeah, I wore this one on purpose. I thought it would be appropriate.
Yeah, very much.
First of all, thank you very much for taking the time today to chat with me about the new album.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
And I want to start off with the question that first came to my mind when I started listening to the album, which was how difficult it was this record to go from pen and paper into actually becoming a record.
Well, a large part of that answer lies with Thomas, who writes our music and lyrics. I don't think there's much pen and paper involved, though. I think it's more in his head, and then he plays it. Lyrics must come here and there, but of course, it's a huge process from the first ideas in his head to making a demo. I know from him that one of the biggest steps in this process is to send it to us. I mean, it's a thing to release it into the world, but for him, the biggest step is to, let it out of the comfort zone of just his own head and house into us. And of course, we are going to have to like it. We're going to have to feel it. We are going to have to make it sound like Nightwish all the way through with us as we are today, adding all of our personal sounds and ideas. And from there it starts to grow, but I know that's a big step for him. And then of course we need to get it all the way done.
To me, this album felt like a different kind of Nightwish album. So do you guys have an approach that you take from a creative perspective and then putting it into reality that's already set in stone, and that's the same way you approach every single album? Or did you guys take a different approach with this record?
I think that work-wise, it's pretty much the same, at least to the previous one. I don't know about the one before that because I wasn't there in the band yet. It's just my second studio album. But Thomas has been writing. Sometimes Marco has been writing in addition to this. But that's been the same for every Nightwish album. One thing did start to change with the previous recording, with the recording of Endless Forms Most Beautiful, in the whole process, was that I was there from the very first rehearsal day off, and actively rehearsed with the band before recording. That had never happened before, and just the mere addition of the lead vocals led to different kind of rehearsals. And we had the same thing now, even though now we were more aware of that was going to happen. And compared to previous times, there's a big difference in the fact that on the 9 songs where the band is playing, there is not an orchestra. And we're used to a Nightwish band and orchestra, and this time it's just string quartet and choir, which left a lot of space within the sound for basically ourselves, which is totally filled with lots of wonderful instruments of Troy, but also with a lot of harmonic voices. And that approach is different from before, which kind of started during the previous World Tour, which was not around the new record, but around the Decades Tour, where we played songs from our own past and went back in history instead of coming with something new. And while we were working on those songs, we realized how much fun it was to sing harmonic voices and to bring them live instead of just having my voice and then record my voice and let it play along. Live is of course way cooler, and that really inspired Thomas to write more songs where we all sing, and that fundamentally changed the sound.
This is an album for me that really shows the DNA of the band, more than the band members just being band members and doing their piece and their part. To me, I felt like this is a record where you guys became, as a band, the fabric that made the sound of the record. Do you agree with that assessment?
I do, even though I also felt that was already happening with Endless Forms Most Beautiful, our previous record. We've been growing into this more and more, and like I said, around the harmonic voices, we've been trying out new things. And this time we also had Kai, our drummer, with us from the get-go. So from the previous album, he was called in on the last minute, and not knowing if our previous drummer Jukka would come back or not. He played as much as Jukka would have done, and this time he could set it more to his own hand, which he did. And yeah, just a couple of years in playing music together really, I think really shows. And it's wonderful to hear that you can hear that, feel that, because even though we have Tuomas as the mastermind, which he really is with the songwriting, we're still a band, and our efforts of everybody in the band shows on this record, and that's wonderful if that's picked up.
Yeah, to me, that was the first thing that I noticed about the record, was that effect that the album has from a sound and vocally. The album has this aspect that all the band members played an important role, but not just a small role. They all became part of the DNA that made the whole sound the way it is on this record, which makes this record very unique in the history of the band, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, and but it's wonderful to see a band after 20 years, though, reinventing itself and keep having its natural evolution within the group as well, instead of kind of sitting back and saying, okay, we're Nightwish, we know what we do, and we're just going to kind of sort of copy paste the concept. So wonderful.
The other aspect that I noticed about the album that was really interesting was the track listing that you guys chose for the first CD. I felt that the order of the tracks was really important because it felt like the songs gained DNA from each other as the album progressed. So there was something from the first song that transferred into the second song, and then from that one into the other one, and all the way forward. How much thought process went into that track listing? And was that the purpose of the way you guys organized the track listing on the album?
I'm quite sure, and that all is though in Tuomas's hands, and he already has that set in his mind before we even start rehearsing, because he knows the natural flow of the songs. And of course, things can change during rehearsals, but it didn't fundamentally enough to change this. And for us, it's always been one record, 9 songs with us, and then the 10th song with the orchestra. But just because it doesn't fit on a record, on an album, we had to put it on 2, so it became a double album. But that's only because of the physical
restraints of the length.
Yeah, of the CD. I mean, we could fly to the moon and do open heart surgery, but we can't get more than 85 minutes of music on a CD. So yeah.
The album, to me, I got some slack for this when I did the album review, because I didn't consider the album a concept album. And then when I was describing the album, people were like, "Oh, you're describing it as a concept album," and I was like, "No, to me, the album is a theme album. There's a theme to it, but it's not a concept in the traditional sense of being a concept of a story." Is that something you agree with, and how would you classify the record?
Yeah, I totally agree. I've actually had interviews before where people suggested it was a concept album, and then when I said it wasn't, it was still yes, but. And it's like, no, it's not a concept, because a concept would probably mean that it's a story about one thing, and then one song leads into the other.
Exactly.
And it doesn't, because we have human and we have nature. You could see that the 9 songs, you could see it so that in the 9 songs where the band's playing, are connected to the theme human, and the second one is like a love letter, like the classical suite, a love letter to nature. And then there's the wordplay that's in the title, human nature. It's also in our human nature, and we are part of nature. So it also tries to say that the whole thing's definitely connected, but it doesn't mean that it's a concept. I like the word theme. That's definitely the right description.
Yeah, I feel like it fits the sound and the overall idea of both of both discs. It fits better with the theme than a concept, because, like you said, there's not a story that's being told that starts with the first track and it ends with the last track.
No.
To me, that would be a theme, you know.
Absolutely. And since every song has different subjects, the first one, music, is about music, and then we have noise, which is about our connection to technology. Completely different subject. The music, I would say, Shoemaker is not about a man making shoes, but about Eugene Shoemaker. Has nothing to do with noise or with music, and so on and so forth. So definitely, but it all describes different facets of humanity and humans. So
Did this album pose any different challenges to you vocally?
Oh, yes, it really did. Speaking of music and Shoemaker, those verses were, at first, it felt like impossible to sing. The melody is so fast, and then there's so many words, and it really felt like, almost, when can I breathe? I still need to breathe sometimes. But as I practiced, I found a place to breathe, and I found a way to not only sing the right words with the right melody and the right tempo and all of that, but also the right feeling behind it. Even though that part took me another bunch of weeks, really, it was really intense to learn. Yeah, the overall complexity of the album was pretty much it was a lot to take in. You can't just listen to it. It's like, okay, now I've heard this song, now I can start to hum along. No, it really took some time, and like I said, to get it into my system and to then voice the emotion behind it was quite the process.
You mentioned Shoemaker. When I heard that song for the first time, that closing that you did, I had goosebumps. I still do every time I listen to that song. We actually just checked out that song on the channel, myself and my son, and it still doesn't matter how many times I listen to it. I know it's coming, but when it hits you, it's absolutely phenomenal. Was that difficult to achieve that level and to get that song all the way down? Because without you at the end, that song is not the same.
Thank you. Well, and yes, it was actually. I mean, it's tricky to sing, but then you learn it and then you sing it. But there was a little bit more to it somehow. We recorded the whole album, my vocals, and then after we were done, we sat back and listened to everything meticulously. Are we happy or not? And we were actually happy with everything apart from the ending of Shoemaker. Yeah, it's good, but it's just not it. Let's just try it again then. And we tried again and again and again, and we were satisfied after a while. But I think we both, Thomas and I, left with a feeling of, yeah, it felt like I could still do it better, but we couldn't get it better. And then the choirs were recorded. And as soon as my voice, the one that I had recorded, and the choirs came together, it was obvious. It's still not it. We need to do this again. And funny enough, well, it was already, the studio times were already over. I recorded it at home. I got the stuff in, and as much as it was like almost a struggle to get it right in the studio, as soon as I sang it with the choirs in, it felt like all the dynamics were in place, all the things were there for me to feel the actual flow that I simply couldn't feel before, and then it was done like instantly. And it's still, when I hear it too, if you may say so of yourself, it's one of my greater achievements. I'm really proud of it. Yeah. Because it has exactly that flow that it needed, and it's a new sound in me almost seemed to have emerged that I haven't heard before. And that's the thing with operatic voices. It's almost like a good cheese or a wine that can get better with age. I've had a moment before when I was about 24 that I felt like all of a sudden my voice really changed, and I have a new color in it. It's like a door open, and I have access to different kinds of sounds. Once again, it felt like that. After I recorded it, I sent it in, I got it back. I was like, is that me? Damn. Yeah, it was almost as if it was a outer body experience. Really amazing, actually, how that works. And yeah, I'm very happy with it.
Very happy with the final result now.
Yeah. And now at the almost do. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite, that being perhaps the most difficult song for you on the record? Do you have a song on the record that's your absolute favorite?
No, because you put so much time and love in every song, in every sentence, that I find it very hard to have a favorite. But if I can only play one song, then I would probably go for House to Heart. But it's really depending on my mood too. Because if I'm I love Endlessness. Just the heavy, doomy sound of it just really fits my mood. And or if I have more time and I'm really calm, I can really sit down with all the works. The whole 34-minute ride is just fantastic. But if it's only one song and I'm happy, it's probably House to Heart.
Is this an album? To me, the album is very layered, from musically and vocally. There's just so many different layers to it, and it's one of those records that every time that you listen to, you discover something new that you didn't pay attention to it before.
Mhm.
Does this make some difficulties for you guys as you move the record from the studio to then playing some of these songs live in the future?
Well, that's to be discovered, I suppose, since we haven't even been able to rehearse.
Yeah.
Because the rehearsals were planned exactly after, well, it's impossible to travel, that to start with. So, yeah, that's to be seen. But the fun thing, I would say, with this record, going back again to the way we build up the harmonic voices, the input of different kinds of instruments that Troy can play. I'm looking forward to really do this live and really bring out everything, all the elements that are in, because we really can. It's wonderful that the technology provides a possibility to let a whole orchestra run along. If you don't have an orchestra on your stage, you can still hear it, or a choir and all of that. And it's been doing a fantastic addition to our music as well. But to actually play it live, that's much more enjoyable. And yeah, that's something to really look forward to. As you say, all those layers. Yeah, we're going to build them up one by one and put them all together. And then we really have to nail them, though, because the speed of things and the complexity of things, if anybody gets sloppy, it's going to sound horrible. But I'm pretty lucky to play in a band with really good musicians. So I'm sure that we'll be fine. It would just be so good to sink our teeth into it now.
I honestly can't see you guys being sloppy at all. It just doesn't seem to be in your DNA to be sloppy.
No, fair enough. No.
You guys are flawless. I mean, I've had the pleasure to see you guys live here in Toronto when you played here during the last tour. And if there's a band that brings their A game every time you guys play, it doesn't matter. I get the feeling that it doesn't matter if you're playing in front of one person or you're playing in front of 20,000 people. You guys always play to your best of your abilities. So I don't think you guys will ever be sloppy at all, even if you're singing in the shower.
No, actually, but that must maybe be, and thank you for this massive compliment, because we love what we do, and that maybe sounds very weird, but we have to play for ourselves to start with. You have to play it I have to sing it for myself and be happy with it. I can't half-ass my way out of a show because there are not enough people and feel okay with it. That would be the most horrible reason to even do a show. Why am I there? I'm there to play music, and because I love doing that. And whether there are 100 or 1,000 or 20,000 people or just one, it's still enjoyable to do for me and with my guys. And what we do, we love. And it's wonderful to share that with other people. And the more the merrier, but that doesn't always make it better. 20,000 or 200, it doesn't matter, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. On this record, I think perhaps more than the previous record, you guys have three great voices on the band, and on this record, I felt you guys really utilize all three in different ways, almost to try to merge them together to create this more convoluted sound vocally. How was it for you to work with those extra two voices of Marco and Troy, bring them into the mix, and then able to create the songs that flow well for you, but still include them into it?
Yeah, that was a wonderful experience. And that was what I meant with those harmonic voices earlier on, as we experimented with that during the Decades tour. Yeah, those guys they're really good in finding the right kind of voice to harmonize with the main melody. Apart from Harvest and Endlessness, I have those main melodies, and then of course there's the chorus and Shoemaker where Troy sings the main, I sing a harmony, but it's usually them harmonizing with the lines that I do, but not every song has the same feel to it. Like Harvest is very folky, Endless is very doomy. Just to take those examples, you can't just copy paste the same kind of harmonics. The way the melodies flow underneath the main line that I sing or that has been sang. Both Troy and Troy Tuomas and Marco, all three are very creative with this, and it was wonderful to see their craftsmanship with this, as I just kind of sat with it like, oh yeah, we can do that, sure, we can do that. Floor, can you sing this? Oh, can you teach me? Because they just hear it in their heads. That's a skill I don't have. It was really wonderful to see and learn from.
From all the albums that you've worked with, I'm not talking just Nightwish in general, from all the albums that you've worked on, as you look back now, the album is completed, you've had a chance to play it, you've had a chance to get the feedback from the fans, which has been phenomenal. The album has been hitting the top of the charts everywhere. So now as you take a step back, your baby is out there, you take a look at it. Is this perhaps the most complex, the most difficult album that you ever worked on?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, yeah, I would say so, actually. Yeah, I mean, the first thing that pops to mind is but that's so many years ago, we wrote an album with After Forever back in the days, called Invisible Circles, which is a concept album, which was also very complex to make. Maybe also because I was way more involved in the writing of this and to get the story right. And there's quite some complexity in the songs too. And for the time then, quite challenging to sing, even though I think it's probably still very challenging to sing. But it's so long ago that it's hard to compare, also because you as you age, you get more experience, so certain things become easier. And yeah, I would say overall this was definitely one of the biggest challenges, also because Nightwish is such a bigger band, so the expectations are so much higher.
Yeah, all eyeballs are on you guys when you guys announce a new record. So the expectations get really high from fans. Definitely. Because you guys have set the bar before very high. So everybody always expects you guys to remove the bar and then move it one step further with every single release.
And it seems also maybe because I'm the third singer in the band that also the focus lies very strongly on how I sing. And certain expectations towards what style of vocals people want to hear. Lots of comments came before that Duamas maybe have not been using enough of my capacity. Well, if that was ever true, you can definitely say that. Now everything is used, everything I can do. All tricks. Yeah. Or there's still a lot of people, just because the band started with operatic voices, that can't get enough of operatic voices. Yeah, it's always a fine balance how you can please everybody, but I really hope and think that in this album there's a very nice balance in everything. And if you really want to hear opera, well, then it's not going to happen that much, but at least now we have a shoemaker and some other parts. But it's whatever serves the songs, of course. That's for us always the most important. But I think that I was at least properly challenged, and yeah, definitely.
he squeezed all the oranges all the way down to get as much juice as he could possibly get from everybody on this record. I get that feeling.
Yeah, he did, and I think he did it awarely. Yeah, and must have enjoyed himself a little bit while we were just struggling. And what is this again? Can you play it one more time? Okay, so the first time it's a major, but then it goes to minor. Right, let me write that down.
I have one more question for you, and that is, as you guys now look ahead and you see the festival season pretty much getting canceled, tours getting canceled because of everything that is happening, are you guys a little bit concerned with the possibility of your North American tour and even your European tour later down in the year not being able to go forward? And are you guys thinking of a plan B or something that you guys could do if this doesn't work out?
I mean, I think everybody apart from scientists, and even the scientists, don't really know yet. We have never had a pandemic on our hands of this size, and we know that there is not going to be a cure yet. And I would say as long as we don't have that, it's very hard to predict the future of the gathering of large groups of people. So festivals and bigger shows, I mean, our European shows are from 7,000 up to 17,000 people that gather. At the moment, there are still so many people dying on a daily basis, and we're talking months. I would say it's very wishful thinking to think that in the autumn and in the winter we're just going to be fine and life is going to continue as it was. I don't want to be the pessimist, but I don't really think it's possible, actually. And since we really don't know the planning of a plan B, it's also very difficult because everything is moving. We should have been in China right now. In not so long, we should have jumped into a plane to Mexico for a Latin and South American tour. Then it should have been Russia. So there are already 3 parts of the world that we are pushing.
Yeah.
So it's very likely that also North America is going to do that. So, but then again, most important, and I would really want to stress it to everybody, is our health. If we have the gift of a good health, we cannot complain about anything at this time. It really proves the true values of life. And right now, that's keeping healthy. If you have your health, great. You know, we can't complain about quarantines. It's a discomfort perhaps, but gives us also time to do all the kinds of things that we never had time for. Better to sit back and sit it out and maybe even enjoy it for as much as you can, just by doing the things that you usually can do. Learn that new language, learn to knit, I don't know, watch the Netflix series once again, or your favorite movie you've watched 10 times, watch it 11 times. That's still a luxury compared to getting the actual disease or all kinds of other real horrors that can still happen. So I'd rather sit this out until next summer and know that everything is then gone and we can pick up life in good health and good security for everybody than to rush it. And if that means that we need to wait with these kinds of things, the luxuries of concerts and shows until we have a vaccine, then so be it. And because we can't say anything more sensible than that at this point, there cannot even be a plan B other than we really want to play. So we'll certainly come to North America. We will not forget about Toronto or Canada or any of the places that we had planned. It's frustrating beyond words to be stuck at home and not to play. But also from my personal end of, I try to focus on the things that I can do, which is, in my case, hang out with my husband and kid way more than I usually can. I mean, you wear the Sabaton shirt, my husband would probably also jump in a plane somewhere soon. Instead, we're home together, and that's something rare to enjoy. And I have time for other things here at home that I usually can't, and I think that's something special to focus on. And until we don't know anything more, we need to just sit tight and hope that we don't get sick, and the ones that we love.
Well, let me tell you this: beautiful words from a beautiful voice. I could have not said it better myself. I think sometimes people are too focused on the glass being half empty instead of being half full. Because I think if you don't have your health, like you said, you pretty much don't have anything else, regardless of whatever. It doesn't matter if there's a concert happening down the road. If you're not healthy enough to attend it, it's almost like if it didn't happen, it becomes so irrelevant. So your words are, I couldn't have said it better myself. And thank you for those words, because I think sometimes we need to hear it from somebody else versus a politician or somebody in the news, like a newscast. We need a different person to remind us of what really matters in life these days. And I think our health and our family's health, it's perhaps the number one priority these days. And we can listen to Nightwish while we're stuck at home.
Right. I mean, there's enough to enjoy. I would really invite everybody to just, take a whole hour and a half, tell everybody to shut up, put on great headphones, or maybe you even have a good Wi-Fi set at home, and close your eyes and escape for a little while into the enjoyments of the great achievements of humanity and the beauty of our nature. I mean, can't be so bad.
Couldn't get any better. Well, thank you very much for taking the time today to chat with me about the record. Best of luck with everything, and stay healthy.
Yeah, the same to you and to everybody that's watching this. Take good care. As said, enjoy life. Thank you so much for getting up so early, because I know your time's crazy. I'm really grateful that you got up for me this early.
Well, I was not going to, like, when I was given the time, I said, whatever. If I have to get up at 2 in the morning, 3, it doesn't matter. I'll make the time. I'm in quarantine.
Wow.
I can always sleep in later. Who cares?
Wow. Well, A for effort there. Thank you so much for that. Really cool to talk with you. Take good care. And, well, until we maybe meet in real life.
Yeah, until we meet again in real life under better circumstances.
Indeed. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.